Married with a Business is brought to you by Audible.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Married with a Business. I'm Craig.
And I'm Allison.
And we're Married with a Business. We're here to share tips, tricks, stories of what it's like to be a married couple that own, operate, live,
do stuff together.
As a business owner and entrepreneur.
And married people.
And married. Oh, yeah, there's 20 some odd years of that as well.
Woohoo!
So, Allison, what's been going on with you? How have you been?
I've been great. I think I said this before. I feel like the year has gotten off to a slow start, but we're into quarter two and we are getting there.
Well, I think in the Northeast, it was a tough winter. It was the toughest winter we've had in a decade, easily.
Yeah, this was tough. It was cold. People were cranky. It was dark. And now that it's spring, it's raining every day. Or yesterday, it snowed, rained, was sunny, hailed, and was sunny again.
It
was crazy.
The weather was a little drunk yesterday, for sure.
But in good news, we got to go a little south of New England and see some great baseball, or at least see baseball.
Yeah, and you say, it was great news. It was an awesome trip. It was cold there, though, too.
It was also cold in Baltimore.
Yeah, so we went to the Baltimore area. Our son played in a tournament on all these awesome little ballparks.
And very proud of him. He won player of the game for one of the games.
Yeah, and which was really good. He was super excited about that. We stayed an extra day, went to Baltimore Orioles game, which was a blast. We're big Orioles fans, and I'm a big Orioles fan.
And so are the boys. I go along. It's fine.
It's
not Red Sox, but it's fine.
It's better. And so we had a good time. We stayed an extra couple days. It was nice. We had a fun time together. It was actually, we'd done something that we'd never done before on this trip, which is we got 2 hotel rooms,
which we've done before, but they were completely separate hotel rooms. Like we were across the hall from each other, separate.
Yeah, and so we didn't bunk with each other. We had bunkmates.
Yeah, we each took a kid. Full disclosure, you've been snoring a lot, and I wanted our baseball player to get some good rest. It was nice to have 2 bathrooms, and we stayed at the team hotel where we didn't really have a choice about getting suites, which is what we have been doing as the kids have been getting big.
Yeah, so it was a good time. We had fun bunking with our kids and getting to have a couple days away.
Yeah, and today's guest actually was in Baltimore with us, which is pretty cool, and we kept the work talk to a minimum.
We did keep the work talk to a minimum, but we had a great time. Here's a really interesting interview with a public relations specialist that we know, Meaghan Hohl, who can talk you through what PR really is.
Yes.
Take a listen. Hey everybody, today we are thrilled to have a powerhouse guest, if you will, somebody who knows a little bit about high stakes strategy, community impact, the halls of Capitol Hill, the halls of the offices of Fidelity. She's a partner with Comsint Communications, Meaghan Hohl.
Hi, Allison and Craig. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to Comsint.
Sure. So let's see. I am a proud graduate of the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where I studied history and public policy. After graduation, I went to the halls of Beacon Hill and worked for a state representative there. After that, I then moved to the district office for then Senator John Kerry, and worked with him through the presidential campaign in 2004, which was an absolute amazing experience. And for those old enough to recall, the convention that year was held in Boston. And while the election did not go our way, I had the opportunity to stay with the secretary and move down to Washington and work with him in the Senate.
And Meaghan doesn't think that that's like a super interesting story sometimes when we talk to her.
Yeah, that is a very interesting story.
Well, yeah. Thank you. So I still have some of the best friends from that experience. And so when I was down at DC, I was thinking about kind of what was next, and did I go back to grad school? What did I want to be when I grew up? So in talking to a lot of different folks, I decided to go for my MBA. So I attended the George Washington University and did my MBA in corporate social responsibility and international business at night while I was working on the Hill. And at GW, my sister jokes all the time that I'm the only person she knows that liked grad school. I had an amazing time. Again, some amazing people that I met, some amazing professors and experiences. So sort of a back and forth. I left the Hill and went to an agency, and then I went back to the Hill on the House side, which was interesting to see the difference between the House and the Senate. And I assure you, they are very different animals. I then left the Hill and went to a lobbying firm where I was for the last few years. I was in DC, spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill lobbying, primarily for social justice issues, immigration reform, worked with a great bunch of people there. And then decided it was time to come back to Boston because I think all Bostonians always feel that we need to come home. So in 2010, I moved back and I went in-house and put my MBA to use and worked at Fidelity. I primarily started off working on Congress had just passed Dodd-Frank, and we were not quite sure what those regulations were going to look like yet. So I came in on a team that was working with Fidelity's clients to sort of talk about what this could potentially mean. It's still unclear decades later. But so I was there just under a decade. And then from there, I have kind of jumped around to a couple different agencies. And then I came to Comsint a little under a year ago. And my partner, Nick Pulio, and I had been collaborating on a bunch of different things. We sort of grew up in politics ironically, in kind of different political circles in Massachusetts. But once we sat down, we realized how many people we had in common, which is often what happens for those of us raised in politics. And I was trying to figure out what to do next because my average commute was not 27 minutes. It was like 2 hours and 27 minutes.
Wow.
And I have a almost 12-year-old son, Sebastian, and a 3.5-year-old William, and who I adore very much and wanted to be able to spend more time with them. And given what my husband does, he has to leave early in the morning and is in construction. So there's no working from home and no flexibility. So Nick and I were talking, and he also has 4 kids and lives down here on the South Shore. And we were talking about sort of our generation really being frustrated with having to commute into Boston to actually be in sort of a competitive environment. So one of our conversations that just happened organically where he's like, well, why don't you join me at Comsint and be my partner and we'll build business more so than he'd already done. We've been around about 6 years. So it's been great. We have a great working relationship. I've been able to do a lot of different things, networking things. As Allison knows, I try to get to as many events as possible and spread the word about Comsint and the work that we do.
So one of the things I think is really interesting, because I think you're the first person I know in the public relations crisis management world at this level for small businesses, is trying to help educate people like me and people, probably our listeners, on what is public relations and crisis management for a smaller size business as opposed to marketing, because it's not just press releases.
No, it's definitely not. And so we are a holistic full shop. Given that Nick and I both have come from larger agency worlds, we do thought leadership, strategic management. We help people think about problem solving. So we have a wide range of skills that we focus on. From a small business perspective, it's more, you need it more than you think. And what I have found in being in the community and talking to different small businesses, going to different chamber events, people have the same reaction you do, Allison, which is, what exactly do you do? My oldest son tells people I talk for a living. But what we do is we help you. Like, if you don't know, nobody can really anticipate a crisis. So given the industry that you're in, if something were to happen with, somebody, say, for example, accused you of not having the right permit or, using a different material than quoted or something like that, it ends up coming after you either with a lawsuit or, a public smear campaign, that's where, a team like us could come in and say, we help you message around that. And then from outside of a marketing perspective, I think, so we just did a piece, and I encourage people to go to our website, Comsint.com, and take a look at our blog, but we just did a piece on internal comms, right? So the importance of, from a brand ambassador perspective, the biggest brand ambassador you have are your employees. So I think people often think about communications as only external facing, when in fact, I think the most important part is when it's internal facing. Because you want people out there talking about Almar and how great it is to work there, and the leadership that you provide, the opportunities you provide for your employees, whether it be team building or growth opportunities or the opportunity to go back and do some continuing ed, people are going to talk about that. They're also going to talk about you when you dread going to work every morning and you get up and you're like, I can't, like the thought of getting out of bed and going, into the office or opening my laptop. That's not what you want. And that very much is your employee base, and they will be out there and talking about that. So, I mean, I think that's an important piece of communications. And then I think just in terms of how you talk about yourself in the community, right? So you're based in Hanover, and you're on one of the main streets, which is great. But the number of times I mention different organizations that I have talked about, people don't know because you're not necessarily out there. And your work is not to be out there. Your work is to do home remodeling and repair. However, when you partner with a communications firm, our job is to help you amplify that message, and amplify the work that you do, which you're doing through things like this podcast, which is fantastic. But a lot of businesses don't think about that, and they don't really have the time to do it, which is why it's always great if you want to outsource to a team like us. So you're not spending the overhead internally to hire somebody full-time to manage your communications, but rather you're working with senior level strategists who have worked in pretty much every industry locally, nationally, and internationally, to come in, and we really take time to sit down and figure out who you are, what your business is, and where our expertise can help you elevate your brand to a new level.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of times, as a small business owner, like we think about PR. The whole idea of like public relations is like, oh, that's when something has gone wrong. Like we need to have good PR. Something's gone wrong. But like you said, there's a lot more that goes not only into being proactive about, what could potentially happen, but also from a PR standpoint, like how to position yourselves better in the community. And what are some things that are maybe not worried about the crisis point of it, but things that people can do to maybe help better themselves in their community, in their, for their business.
Yeah. And I think when you think about it from that perspective, you can look around and see a lot of smaller businesses, particularly here on the South Shore, that engage in a lot of different activities that help elevate their brand. And when you do that and you see sort of what they're giving back to the community, you then want to go there. So whether you're going to do home remodeling, whether you're going to go switch insurance carriers, whether you're looking for a real estate agent, the people that are out there sort of sharing their story and making you feel part of their community are the people that you're going to turn to. So that in terms of business development opportunity, right? Because your brand is out there and people have a sort of warm, fuzzy feeling when they see the brand and they think, okay, I now finally have the money to remodel my home. I want to go to Almar. It's run by a married couple. I've talked to a couple of employees at different events and they're very happy there. So I trust them to come and do this for me.
And there's a strategy to that, right? Like I think a lot of people go, oh, well, I'm just going to go volunteer for Habitat for Humanity or go down and help at the local 5K race. But there actually is a strategy to doing those things.
Yes, 100%. And it's not just a one and done. Like you have to show up consistently. And that's what communications overall, you have to show up consistently. Because the more you're out there, and we tell clients this all the time, your brand recognition gets stronger. So if you're, you have a great presence on LinkedIn, Allison, that's huge. You're out there, you're promoting not only your own business, but businesses in the community that you've encountered or you work with. And that B2B is huge for a platform like LinkedIn. And even, Facebook is more, I'll jokingly say for like the 40s moms, because I am one, but, and it's more, a lot of times people are still on it for school-based stuff. But there is an element of using those platforms to highlight the work that you're doing, whether it's going to Habitat for Humanity or whether it's, somebody was so excited about a project you did for them, they're willing to go on and not only give you reviews, but make recommendations to their networks as well. And to your point, Craig, there is a strategy. You got to think about, you come into the business or the organization, because we do a lot of work with nonprofits as well. And what is your mission and your vision? And then how do we map that out based on your mission, your vision, the region that you're in, the industry that you're in, and sort of what your end goal is? What does success look like in 6 months? Is it elevating your brand? Is it getting more employees? Is it increasing your employee satisfaction? And we figure out how we kind of back into that. And one of the things that I think is important that we do too is you have to shift, right? You put together a plan and say, this is what we're going to do for 9 months. doesn't work for anybody usually ever in any business. So you have to come in and calibrate. We can come in and say, this is our plan for the next month. And then there could be some catastrophic event that changes the tone of whatever we're talking about. And we pivot and we figure out how do we change our messaging there. And again, I think a lot of times people think it's like a one size fits all, and it's not, especially when you're talking about small businesses.
So say a lot of the people who listen to our show are couples who are running businesses, obviously. Do you think the brand should the brand of the business be the people, or how do you balance the personal versus the professional public relations?
Great question. So I think it's a combination of both, which is why I think part of the reason we're here with Comsint. I think the dynamic between your employees and your leadership is incredibly important. Again, back to the whole brand recognition and satisfaction of your employees. But I think the brand is one thing, your experience is another. So a lot of times when we pitch clients or we meet with clients, initially, Comsint is the brand. The brand is then our experience. So we bring to the table a collective experience that will help elevate our brand. And we have found that given our diverse backgrounds, that really helps up the brand recognition, because we are able to talk about communications from a holistic perspective, in that we've worked in all of these different areas.
Going back to the other side of things. So we've talked a lot about how it's like PR is not just negative, but those negative things happen. Those bad Google review, if it's, like an online smear campaign, or if it's something bigger. What are the steps that a small business should take to start correcting and, reaching out and correcting those issues in the community?
Great question. So I think, it'll depend on how big the issue is, and sort of how impactful it has been. I do think part of what we do when we come in a situation like that, when we get hired to do something like that, is figure out exactly how far is the reach, what's the source, and then how do we do a landscape analysis of how much damage has happened, and then figure out, we would advise you on steps to take based on the activity that's happened. A smear campaign online versus one bad Google review are going to be two different approaches. And it's going to also depend again on how far reaching it is and how credible the source may be that has been trying to bring you down.
Well, and I say it all the time, sometimes, not that you want bad Google reviews, nobody wants bad reviews, but sometimes that one crazy person review online kind of helps build your image a little bit when all the other ones are great and glowing reviews. And even if your reply to that crazy review is, sorry, we didn't meet your needs, please reach out, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me that I think a lot of people freak out when they get that one bad review or that one, negative comment.
Yeah. And I think I agree. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because if you've built that strong brand, people are going to see that. And if they haven't written a review before, they're going to come out and write one, because they're going to want to counter that bad review. And it's always a iffy situation if you engage, right? So you could reach out and say, sorry, we didn't make it. Depending on the level, they may carry it to a level that you don't want to do. And it's always hard to tell what that person will do if you engage or don't. But I do think once you have a strong brand and a recognition in the community, when things like that happen, you'll see the people that are really, happy with the work that you did and supportive of what you're doing will come out of the woodwork if they hadn't been public before.
For a business owner who's looking to connect, what is a must-have you think they need for their digital presence?
I think they need to have an up-to-date comprehensive website, which you may laugh, but a lot of people, if you go, they'll have thought leadership or blog posts that haven't been updated in 5 years. So that they're not engaged and they're not keeping up to date on trends. For B2B, I definitely think you need to have a good LinkedIn presence, and not just being there and liking things and whatnot, but being thoughtful about having a consistent presence. So you're posting if you're doing any sort of blog post or thought leadership, or if you're participating in a podcast, or your company was interviewed by a local paper. You want to be sharing those things consistently. And when there's not a particular event, you still want to be there talking about either trends in the industry or some exciting upcoming project, teasing some big announcement so that people are paying attention. And that gets businesses to continue to follow you. And you'll see when you start to tag other people in other businesses, that your presence explodes and people see more of you. And the more you show up in people's feeds, the more they're going to get to know you and they're going to come to you when they're looking for your service.
Yeah, we talked to a lot of different business owners that own different kinds of businesses. Is the approach when you're doing public relations and you're doing community outreach, is the approach different for B2B versus like business to consumer? Like is it completely different?
Not completely different. I think again, depending on the industry that you're in, B2C is it's on more of a personal level. I think that you want to have something that sticks in people's minds. When they see your brand, they have an automatic warm, fuzzy feeling. Right. Like my boys have this incredible knack for being able to spot a Home Depot or a Lowe's from the highway from like 2 miles away. Because the brand recognition is so strong and they are there almost every day. But I think, you want to, from a consumer side, that's really what's going to help drive your business, is that when they see your LinkedIn post, they listen to your podcast, they see an article on you, they have an affinity for that. And B2B, I think it's the same thing when you're talking about smaller businesses, I think, because you're community based, and your footprint may not be as large as some of your larger competitors, and people want to inherently support people in their community.
How do you suggest people silence the noise and try to stay focused on their mission when business or personal stressors are starting to leak into that public image?
It's again a great question. It's hard to separate sometimes, and coming from sort of the political world, that is a space that stuff can leak in. We see obviously in this ever changing media landscape, and that's the other thing. The constant pace of media these days has changed how we look at things. I think on a personal level, I always try to take a step back, right? If there's stuff going on in my personal life and I don't want it to impact my work, I try to take a deep breath and find, even if it's 5 minutes, to be able to reset my mind and focus on my client and try to put the personal stuff aside. It's not easy, and you can't always do it. And sometimes, but I also find, you have to have grace, both for yourself and for your colleagues, your employees, and your clients. Sometimes it's just a bad day and something didn't go right, and you just gotta have grace. And I think in this fast-paced media environment, in this constant tumultuous landscape we're in currently, that's huge. To be able to do that and to be supportive of your employees. And, you may have a bad day and think, what happened there? And they may come in the next day and say, hey, I'm sorry, my son was having a tough day at school and I just couldn't get it out of my head. And, so I think that's key. And again, that builds into your brand and your culture and what you're cultivating.
And I think this kind of ties into it as we kind of tie up our conversation with you, is how do you and your family balance your career at Comsint with being an active parent, active community members? Do you have any strategies that you guys are implementing at your house?
I wake up every day happy that my boys are healthy, that Andy's healthy, that I'm healthy most of the time. And I honestly try to take it a day at a time. And from a personal perspective, sometimes that's not always easy because I'm planning out, events that I'm going to go to and different meetings and stuff, whatnot. But I try to just focus on the day. And sometimes that's really hard. But I think today, my kids are at school. I'm sitting here having a wonderful conversation with you, talking about what I love to do. I think the other piece for me is I love the work that I do, like wholeheartedly love it. I say this to Nick all the time. I don't think I've been this happy in a job since I was on Capitol Hill. And that means the world to me because I work with a team that is focused on their family as well. And they understand the balance. And again, they give the grace to do what you need to do when you need to do it. And sometimes that means I put the kids to bed and I've got to finish, some work that I didn't get to. And that's okay. So I didn't get to it, at 1:00 on a Thursday because I had to go pick somebody up, early from school. I'll get to it later tonight. And I think that's where I try to balance, particularly at this point in my life, and just sort of take a look at the calendar in the morning and remind myself of what I have, while not getting overwhelmed with all of the things that I know are coming down the pike.
Yeah, absolutely. Meaghan, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about how people can find you in Comsint Communications.
I would love to. So, my Meaghan Hohl, I'm on LinkedIn. Please feel free to add me to your network. I'm always open to conversations. One thing I will say is that throughout my career, I have not gotten anywhere without somebody helping me or just having a conversation with me. It's one of my favorite things to do is meet with people and talk to them about my journey and how I got here and see if there's any way that I can be helpful to them because so many people have been helpful to me. So please add me on LinkedIn. And you can find us at comsint.com, COMSINT.com. Please check us out. You can check out our blog and our LinkedIn as well for the latest and greatest updates. And for all of your communications needs, we're happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Meaghan.
Great. Thank you both.
So, Allison, I guess right off the bat, I'll admit my naivete towards the differences of PR and marketing. Like public relations and marketing to me was just the same thing, and I thought it was really interesting to talk to Meaghan and talk about like the differences between the two.
Yeah, and how your messaging folds into your marketing, right? And how what the things that we do in the community because we're small business owners who love our community is part of that messaging and part of those things. Had a great conversation with Meaghan on a separate topic where we were just featured in a magazine, and I said to her, I don't know what to do with this now. So her portion of what the public relations aspect is, how do you use those great things that are coming out about you?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when people hear the phrase public relations, and we talked about this in the interview, like I think people think, oh, it's bad. Like you got to go out and do PR and you got to deal with fix the problem. And it's not just that. It's also thinking about, the public view of your company, like what you want people to see, not just the marketing and what you want them to buy or do, but also see about you and feel about you.
Yeah, it's not like the old TV show Scandal where it's all about covering up things. And I think what's great about Meaghan and her team is that they have done things on political campaigns and they've done things for nonprofits and they've done things for small businesses. And she is really open to just having a conversation with you about, I don't understand. Do I need something? What do I need? How can I do it that is affordable for me? It's not necessarily always about these big, giant corporations.
And I think sometimes as like small business owners, we definitely get caught in like our tunnel of this is what we do. This is who I am. And this is what we are. And, and sometimes it's good to have that outside person, like take a picture of you and be able to hold that mirror up and say, okay, this is how you're perceived.
How other people see you.
Yeah. Like what do you like and not like about this? And what do we need to like focus on to make better?
Right. So I think that, this is just another piece of the puzzle as we are building our business and looking down the pipeline of, what's our succession plan? How do people view us? How do we want to be seen? How are we going to get more business? How is our reputation in the community?
I think, yeah, definitely 100%. And I think that if that's something that you haven't even started yet or even like, sort of scratched the surface of yet for your company, like I think a really good place to start is with Donald Miller's story brand system, Allison.
Yes, that's a great place to start.
And we went through it, years ago. Everything's years ago now. But we went through it, and it's a great, I would recommend, check out his website, storybrand.com, but you can also check out his book, Story Brand, and it really helps you start building that story of who you are as a company or as whatever you do professionally, and can definitely help you with that. And you can get that on us for free, a free 30 days of Audible. Just go to audibletrial.com/bizmarried. You get a free 30 days of Audible. You can listen to that, Allison.
Yep. I've actually been re-listening to it because one of the people in our networking group is working through it now. So I've been pulled up my Audible account, been re-listening to it so I can help her and help talk her through some of the things that she's working on through her story brand.
Yeah, so check it out. Go to audibletrial.com/bizmarried. That's BIZ married, and get a free 30 days of Audible on us. Thanks for listening, everybody. Meaghan, thanks for being on the show. We really had a great time. And don't forget to check us out. We're online as well. You can check us out, marriedwithabusiness.net. That's our website. You can also find us on all the socials. Just search Married with a Business or at Biz Married, Biz with a Z, and look for us on there and learn more about what's happening in our life. I mean, you share stuff all the time on Instagram about what's going on with us. We were cold at a ballpark. We were warm somewhere else.
Yeah, there's always great things. And if you have a question, just drop us an email, or if you want to share your story, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, everybody, thanks for listening. And remember, not only is it important to focus on your business, but also your marriage, because we're married with a business.